This is why you never feel truly satisfied anymore. You thought you'd feel complete once you got there, didn't you? But here you are again, staring into the silence after the applause. The goal was achieved, the photo was posted, the likes came in, and still something inside you remains empty. This isn't new. It's just louder now, because we've built a world that promises joy in the next thing, but never teaches us how to enjoy anything. We chase promotion after promotion, experience after experience, like children chasing shadows at sunset, always running, never holding. Satisfaction was never meant to be hunted. It was meant to be noticed, but we are trained to believe, once I get that house, once I find the one, once I hit that number, then I'll finally rest. And we do get there, but peace never unpacks its bags, because the world sold you a formula. Achievement equals happiness, but the soul doesn't respond to formulas. You see, the soul craves meaning, not just motion. It hungers for stillness, not just stimulus. But we've learned to drown that voice. We scroll it away. We schedule it away. We succeeded away. Modern life taught us to live horizontally, racing forward, always chasing the next reward. But no one told us that true satisfaction comes from going deep, not just far. You're not tired because you do too much. You're tired because what you're doing doesn't touch your spirit. And that's the secret no one told you. That satisfaction isn't a product of speed or stuff or social approval. It's the quiet fruit of alignment, when your life speaks the same language as your soul. But now, we compare more than we reflect, we react more than we rest. We are so busy watching other people live, we forget to live ourselves. We measure our value by views, our success by schedules, and our happiness by highlights. And it's leaving us numb, because comparison doesn't just steal joy. It murders meaning, and when life lacks meaning, even pleasure becomes tiring, even success becomes suspicious, even rest feels guilty. You're not broken. The ladder you're climbing is leaned against the wrong wall. You were never meant to feel fulfilled by applause. You were never wired to feel whole from likes. You weren't made for performance. You were made for purpose. And purpose doesn't shout, it whispers. But we can't hear it over noise. That's why people don't feel satisfied anymore. Not because satisfaction has disappeared, but because we stopped going where it lives. We forgot the old paths: stillness, gratitude, meaningful work, real relationships, silence without a screen. We replaced them with distractions dressed up as desires, and it worked for a while, but now the hunger is louder than the noise. So if you feel unsatisfied, don't panic, don't escape, just pause, just listen, because the ache you feel, it's not failure. It's a sacred invitation, an invitation to return to the kind of life where peace isn't an accident. It's a result, to the kind of life where you wake up not with panic, but purpose, to a life where satisfaction doesn't come from having more, but from needing less. That's where your joy went. That's where your peace is hiding, and that's why you never feel truly satisfied anymore. You got what you wanted, so why does it still feel like something's missing? Because the world told you this would be it, the finish line, the answer, the relief. You saved up, you sacrificed, you did what they said would make you happy, and now, standing here, you're not unhappy, but you're not full either, because the promise was false. It was polished, but it was hollow. Modern life is a marketplace of desires. Everything you see adds algorithms. Even ambition itself is designed to convince you of one thing, that satisfaction is out there, waiting on a shelf, behind a salary, beneath a spotlight. And it works. It works because deep down we all crave peace. We just no longer know where to find it. So we look for it in what we can hold, what we can wear, what we can show. We think new shoes will fill old emptiness. We think a better phone will fix the silence between us. We think a bigger paycheck will heal the smallness we feel inside. But fulfillment cannot be bought, borrowed, or branded. You don't need more things. You need more meaning, because the soul doesn't speak the language of stuff. It doesn't understand transactions. It understands truth. And here's the truth. Possessions will never love you back. They will applaud you when you buy them, then quietly abandon you when the novelty wears off. See, the lie isn't in having things. The lie is in expecting things to have you. You expected the house to feel like home. You expected the car to make you proud. You expected the followers to make you feel seen. But no matter how much you feed the ego, the soul still goes hungry, because fulfillment was never about stacking more, but stripping away what doesn't matter. And we've been trained to mistake comfort for connection, to mistake luxury for life, to mistake image for identity. But the truth is, you don't remember the shoes you wore last year. You remember the moment you laughed until you cried. You don't remember the phone you had in college. You remember the nights you stayed up talking until dawn, because meaning isn't manufactured, it's experienced. And the tragedy is, we've started trading the eternal for the temporary. We used to chase wonder, now we chase updates. We used to seek joy, now we settle for dopamine. And this shift has consequences, because what we reach for every day shapes what we become. If you chase things, you become empty. If you chase truth, you become whole. But we don't talk like that anymore. Now we talk in metrics, how many views, how many dollars, how many square feet, as if these things could weigh the human soul. But the soul is not impressed by what you have. It's moved by who you are, and who you are is being buried under layers of purchases, profiles, expectations, all whispering, once you get this next thing, then you'll finally feel okay. But the next thing becomes another thing, and you start to realize you've been sold a dream that keeps you dreaming. You were never meant to find peace in packaging, never meant to find joy in trends, never meant to define success by how many people envy you, because envy is not admiration. It's a symptom of the same disease. We're all searching for enough, and no one seems to have found it. Because enough was never out there, it was always within. The hunger in you is not for things. It's for truth, and the moment you understand that, the illusion begins to fade, the noise gets quieter, and for the first time, maybe in a long time, you begin to hear the voice beneath the noise, the one asking not, "What can I get?" but "Who am I becoming?" Because that's where fulfillment lives, not in the hands, but in the heart. You thought you were chasing goals, but really you were chasing a feeling that never came, or if it did, it didn't stay, because every time you reach the summit, there's another mountain in the distance, and you tell yourself, that one will finally be enough, but it never is, because the finish line keeps moving. And you keep running. We don't live in moments anymore. We live in plans. We don't rest in achievement. We rush into the next ambition. We celebrate for a second, then back to the list, and we call this progress. We call it hustle, drive, success. But what we really mean is this: I don't know how to stop, because stopping feels like falling behind, and falling behind feels like being forgotten. So we keep going, not out of passion, but out of fear. We're not addicted to growth. We're addicted to not feeling like a failure. Even when we win, we feel behind, because someone else just posted their highlight reel. Someone else just crossed a milestone. Someone else just reminded you of what you haven't done yet, and you forget that their next is just as hollow as yours. We all keep running, running to stay relevant, running to feel worthy, running to avoid stillness, because stillness is scary. Stillness forces you to hear the truth, and the truth is, the chase is killing your joy. The chase makes you impatient with now, makes you ignore the people in front of you, makes you numb to the beauty around you, because your eyes are always on what's next. Next job, next trip, next milestone, next version of yourself that will finally be good enough. But the problem with living for the next moment is that you never fully live in this one. You wake up already behind, you eat while scrolling, you rest while worrying, and even when you're on vacation, your mind is planning the next task. This is not ambition, this is anxiety dressed up in productivity, and no one ever told you that rest is not laziness, it's wisdom. But we grew up being praised for pressure. The busier you were, the more important you felt. The less you slept, the more serious you seemed. But what's the cost? You got more done, but lost your wonder. You built a resume, but forgot how to be present. You earned the trophy, but lost the taste of small joys. And somehow that trade felt fair, until now, until you realized that no amount of next will fill a soul that's never allowed to be here. Because presence is the foundation of peace, and you can't be present while sprinting. You can't feel gratitude at 90 miles an hour. You can't taste joy when your mouth is full of what's next. You were not created to live like a machine. You were created to feel, to notice, to breathe, to sit in a moment so deeply that it becomes part of you. But the chase doesn't allow that. The chase says, you're not enough yet. You haven't earned rest yet. You can enjoy life after the next breakthrough. But life doesn't wait. Life doesn't pause while you chase. Your child is growing while you scroll. Your body is aging while you grind. Your soul is whispering while you plan. And one day you'll look up and realize the finish line was a mirage. It was never about the next thing. It was always about who you were becoming while you waited. But you didn't wait. You rushed, and in rushing, you missed the meaning, because the meaning isn't in the result. It's in the process. It's in the quiet conversation, the morning light, the laughter that interrupts the plan. It's not that your dreams are wrong. It's that the way you're chasing them is breaking you. So slow down, not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know satisfaction isn't found in speed. It's found in stillness. And until you learn to live here in this breath, in this hour, the next will always feel like not enough. You used to feel things. Now you scroll past them, not because you don't care, but because everything's too fast, too loud, too much. Depth required stillness. And stillness is almost extinct. We've traded reflection for reaction. We don't sit with thoughts. We swipe them away. We don't ponder. We post. We don't feel. We filter. And in trying to touch everything, we've forgotten how to be touched by anything. Because when life becomes a highlight reel, you forget how to sit in the shadows, to feel something slowly, to let a thought echo through you, to let silence speak. But we don't allow that anymore. There's no room for silence when noise pays better. So we keep ourselves busy, busy enough to avoid the ache, distracted enough to silence the question, is this all there is? Because if we ever stop, we might actually feel it, the emptiness that fast living can't fill. We consume information like fast food, quick, addictive, and empty. We watch 5-second wisdom clips and call it growth. But real wisdom isn't a soundbite. It's a slow, burning fire. It takes time to grow something real, but time is the one thing we no longer give. Everything must be instant. Fast friendships, fast healing, fast purpose. But depth doesn't grow in speed. It grows in soil, and we've become soil less. We move from person to person, from video to video, from task to task, never staying long enough to be changed. You can't be transformed by what you never sit with. You want peace, sit with your pain. You want joy, learn to endure silence. You want truth, stop rushing past it. But we're addicted to surface, because surface is safe. Depth demands honesty, and honesty is uncomfortable. It demands we face what we've been running from. It demands we ask questions we don't want answered, like why you feel lonely in a crowded room, why success tastes bitter once it's in your mouth, why love feels more distant even with more ways to connect, because the connections have grown wider but shallower. We can reach everyone, yet rarely touch anyone. We can message the world, but struggle to express ourselves. We can speak instantly, but rarely say something that matters, because we don't go deep anymore, and the soul suffocates without depth. It doesn't want another video, it wants presence. It doesn't want more friends, it wants real ones. It doesn't want more things to do, it wants something to be part of. But our lives are built like streams, wide, noisy, and shallow, when they were meant to be rivers, slow, steady, cutting deep into the earth, forming something lasting. But you can't carve rivers in seconds. You need stillness. You need patience. You need roots, but we chase wings instead. We want to fly fast, without knowing where we're going. We want the sky, without understanding the soil, and in doing so, we lose what it means to be grounded, to be human, to feel grief fully, not hide it, to taste joy slowly, not flash it. Ask someone how they are, and wait for the real answer, to read one page and let it change you. Instead, we skim, we scroll, we multitask our way through meaning, and we wonder why nothing satisfies. Because satisfaction comes from depth, not from more, from digging into one thing, instead of skimming 10, from knowing one person well, instead of knowing 100 by name, from doing one thing with purpose, instead of chasing 1,000 just to feel busy. We weren't made for surface. We were made for soul, and the soul is not fast. It speaks slowly, it moves deeply, it asks not, what's next, but what matters. But we've drowned that voice in speed, and until we slow down, until we choose depth over distraction, until we stop running from silence and start listening to it, we'll keep living in the shallow end of life, safe, yes, but never truly alive. You don't even notice you're doing it anymore. It's automatic now. Every scroll, every post, every update, a silent question plays in your mind. Am I enough compared to them? You don't say it out loud. You barely admit it to yourself, but it's there, and it's not because you're weak. It's because the world taught you to measure yourself against everyone else. From the moment we open our eyes, we're taught to rank, rate, compare, grades, followers, bodies, bank accounts, houses. We're taught to live life as a scoreboard. And the game never ends, because someone always has more, someone always looks better, someone always seems happier, and the more we compare, the more we shrink inside, because comparison doesn't just make you feel small, it makes your life feel invisible. You could be making progress, but if someone's ahead, suddenly yours doesn't count. You could be healing, but if they look more put together, you start to question your journey. You could be deeply loved, but if their relationship is louder online, yours feels less real. Comparison doesn't show you truth. It shows you distortion, because what you're comparing yourself to isn't even real. It's a highlight, a filter, a fragment, a moment carefully crafted to impress, not express, but still you believe it. And it's costing you your peace, because now you can't enjoy your moment without wondering how it stacks up. You can't celebrate your success without immediately thinking it's not as big as theirs. You can't rest in your lane because your eyes keep drifting to theirs, and that drifting is where you start to lose yourself, not all at once, but slowly. You stop asking, what do I love? And start asking, what will they admire? You stop building your own life and start trying to copy theirs. But even when you succeed at becoming someone else, you still feel empty, because you weren't made to be a copy. You were made to be a creation, unique, specific, whole, but comparison makes you doubt your design. It whispers if you were really enough, you'd be more like them. And so you adjust. You perform. You shape-shift, not to express yourself, but to be accepted. And the tragedy is, even when you are accepted, it doesn't satisfy, because they're applauding a version of you that isn't real. And that applause feels hollow when your soul knows it's pretending. Comparison is subtle. It doesn't scream, it drips in, one scroll at a time, one compliment at a time, one moment of envy wrapped in a smile, until one day you stop recognizing your own reflection, because everything you are is now filtered through who you think you should be. You can't find contentment when your mirror is someone else's life, and here's the hardest part, even the people you're comparing yourself to are comparing themselves to others, because it's not just a personal problem, it's a cultural disease, and the more we feed it, the more we suffer, the more we win, the more we fear losing, the more we rise, the more we scan for who's rising faster, because comparison never ends in satisfaction. It always ends in scarcity. There's never enough when you live by someone else's measure. Not enough beauty, not enough money, not enough achievement, not enough you, but enough was never meant to come from the outside. Enough is a decision, not a destination. It's the moment you say, I will not measure my life by someone else's highlight reel. It's the moment you stop chasing approval and start choosing alignment. It's the quiet, radical act of coming home to yourself, because your life was never meant to look like theirs. And the beauty is, it was never supposed to. You weren't created to impress the world. You were created to impact it. As you, comparison is a thief. Not just of joy, but of identity. And every time you trade your truth for someone else's image, you pay with your peace. So turn your eyes back to your own path, your own story, your own values, because that's where freedom lives. Freedom begins the moment you stop asking, am I enough like them? And start asking, am I enough like me?